Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Good.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. It's not a rainy, wet day, but it's a wonderful Wednesday all the same as we invite you to be a part of our discussion here on Talk Today. Going to start things off with a few minutes of open line, and then at 12:30, Miss Tamara Hurlston, the Director of the Needs Assessment Unit, together with Mr. Ian Tibbetts, the Director of the E-Government Unit, well, they'll be our guests for a bit. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Truly is a distinct honor, privilege, and pleasure to be able to sit here. And thank you for allowing me to facilitate our discussions as we invite you to be a part of the ongoing dialogue. Go straight to the phones. Welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Hey, good afternoon, ma'am. How are you today?
Not the best, but thankful.
Well, you know what? That's so wonderful here that even when we don't know what lies ahead, even when we don't know how we feel, and we still are thankful. So
Definitely. Yeah.
It'll get better.
Sterling, I hope so, and I pray so.
Mm-hmm.
Sterling, I try not to complain because, the proper thing I don't have anything to do, but I do have a job to go to. Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sterling, I remember when they was building that boat, that sidewalk down and south down.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? Yeah.
That $2 million piece of wood thing?
Yeah.
Or plastic lumber?
Yes, partial cement and lumber, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the husband there was on your station, and I called in regards to it, and he said, well, we're going to have barbecue grills, and we're going to have boardwalk, and we're going to have a cabana, like sitting on the boardwalk, like over the water, and then we'll have a few seats and so forth, and but Sterling, that didn't come to that. What I'm seeing up there now is it's controlled by dog walkers.
Yeah, tell me something. That ugly tree that destroys landscape, according to horticulturists and agronomists and all the other people. With all them dirty nasty shoes stuck up on it. Is that still there?
The tree is still there, and it took just about every shoe off of it, and the tree is still there.
Well, that's a good start.
I think it was kind of cute to a degree because when we used to drive the visitors across there was
Yeah, well, you
of
see
the
that?
slippers.
It is true, huh? Art is in the eye of the beholder, and what is ugly to one people is horrendous to others, huh?
Exactly. And, now that they built all those condos out there now, the shoes is gone. Just a few left.
Mm.
And I also noticed across one of those condos, there's a little fencing on the water side. A couple of chairs down there, and it says no trespassing.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't, Sterling, when you buy a piece of property on the left-hand side and the water's on the right-hand side, did that come in your purchase, or
It depends, and what I've gathered is that maybe because of how roads were put in, that there are some parcels of land that have a small bit of beachfront, oceanfront, waterfront, and then the road dissects it, and then the larger portion of the land is on the land side. And then that beach piece, that waterfront piece, is part and parcel of it, just divided by the road. Sometimes there may be separate parcels. Sometimes the parcels on the beach are even on the other side buildable. Sometimes it's just more than just where the surf would come. Strangely that you asked that question. It's in relation to another location. What I was listening to as the answer was given is that where that particular piece of land on the beach is not deemed to be large enough for a structure of any sort. Maybe some chairs.
Right.
You can't build any kind of permanent structure, and like houses or anything. That if it's of a certain dimension, certain length, then there needs to be potentially some sort of access from the street to the water. But if not, then you can actually fence it and people can't move it. Now, be honest with you, it was a passing comment. I thought the dimension was a bit, sort of around the 20-foot point, but I'm not 100% sure of that. But what was interesting is that even if you blocked it from the road, you can't deny access over it from the sea. So if somehow you manage to be able to get onto it, then you could move, even if the little strip is so narrow that, let's say it's 3, 4, 5, 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet. But it's interesting, and I don't think that it's again, just listening to what was shared informally, just casual amongst the people who were chatting, it seems like there's one of those gray areas where we had a common practice, or we don't have anything properly set out in case law specifically, and whatever legislation that we have is kind of old and outdated, rarely referenced, and so we're not sure what to do until somebody does something and then we respond to it. Even to the point where, again, just listening to the conversation on the periphery, even to the point where it would seem that if someone fences it off, people will just turn a blind eye to it and say, well, that's theirs, we respect the private part. Others, for whatever reason, decide that they want access to it. Then it became a contentious issue that may lead to some sort of decision, put it that way.
Yeah, but it looks to be like a pretty small piece of property across those condos up there in South St. Road.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No, I must share that it's not a road that I traverse often, and I probably would have to think what was the last time I actually drove that road, and what was the last time that when I was on that road that I actually paid attention to anything other than the traffic, if I could, because as you alluded to at the outset, like it or not, there are a lot of people running, riding, somehow, moving about on that road that are not always in a car. I've seen a couple of people on these motorized, look like skateboards of sort, and that is a road that people tend to drive on a lot, pretty fast at times. So all of us that are on that road, whether we are driving, and particularly if we are driving, let's pay attention. And for those who are on bicycle or foot or some other conveyance, be particularly attentive, because I was on it, I know it must have been before COVID, where I saw some stuff and I thought, goodness gracious, this is a dangerous little piece of road.
you know what you need to do? You need to drive to South Sound one day to see how it has built up.
Yeah.
It is built up. You would not believe it. And also talking about pedestrians and riders and so forth. On the Newlands bypass here, which is called the
East-West Arterial? That one?
Yes.
Okay.
We got 6 o'clock in the morning, we got people up there walking and riding, and they got the darkest clothes on. They needs to be more careful.
Yeah.
Even if they have their phone in their hand, put the light on their phone and let us see that if someone is out there. Sterling is a lot of close calls on that highway every morning that I am coming down to go to work. So they needs to be more careful and think of their own lives, and other people's lives.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you now.
Yeah, I want to finish up by saying I was talking about the dogs taking control now of it's the owners and the dogs taking control of South Sound. They'll walk away there, and I gotta tell you one thing: when it's pull up with them, then it's no space for me and you. You understand?
Yeah.
But we have this law now that you're not supposed to use your phone while you're driving, and if you get caught, they will give you a ticket. Well, we have a lot of dog owners who are driving with dogs in their laps, and the dog is hanging out the window while they're driving, holding the dog with one hand and staring the car with the other hand. I think that needs to be stopped, and there's a lot of that going on here.
Yeah, quite dangerous for everybody, even if it was a case of just the driver on a stretch of road and nobody else, for miles around. That dog could be spooked, could just decide to, turn and, without causing any, sort of injury directed to the owner by scratching it because it's moving or because of whatever. That could cause the owner to maybe look away and try to retrieve the dog, and who knows what could happen.
Cause an accident or something in that category.
Anything could happen, no?
Anything can happen. But Sterling, you got to come. I'm driving through South Sound right now. You got to come to here one day. You got to come and see it. You're not going to believe it.
Yeah?
You got to come and see South Sound, how it's built up. And if not, you're going to be living up there. I can guarantee you that.
It's not a place I really cared for. I always thought it was a Dupperville.
Yeah, a lot of graveyards here and there.
That's probably the quietest and probably the nicest part, But no, there are a lot of pretense in this place, and I don't really subscribe to it. But yeah, man, maybe I should. You can take me on tour.
Yeah, I will. Just let me know. Well, I know you got some people coming on now shortly, so we'll talk some more. You going to have open line later, or are you going to just run right through?
No, that's I want to accommodate the guests, but no, there will be some open line, and depending on how it is, if the schedules allow, maybe the Honourable Minister might be able to nip in for a second, but not on the schedule. But we have, 2 heads of department who would give us very meaningful, timely, very beneficial information.
Yeah, I just want to give you a hint. On Mondays and Fridays, people's hearts are full and they want to explore by the time they get to you. With after next day Tuesday, so you have an open line. Just forget everything they want to tell you and they get vexed and get mad. So you need to start sharing that open line on Mondays and Fridays.
All right. Well, it's something to consider. We certainly want to take that on board, and maybe I've been spending some time looking at the schedule and trying to revamp certain things to be more accommodating.
And do another extra hour as well as OC. need to do an extra hour because when OC show gets hot, and you get hot, we all is going off then. And I said to the people of this island, because let me tell you something, this is our own opportunity to express ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have another opportunity, and people need to hear what's on each other's mind, if it's negative or positive, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean?
Yes, Mom. And I'm hoping that people will take your, there are a few others like you, take the lead from you guys, and take the opportunity, call and share. And I know Mr. Art, like myself, will listen. Try to be as responsive and responsible and respectful. So, by you calling,
Sterling, Sterling, somebody called told me that my name was mentioned on your station a couple of days ago. You remembered? And I think that was last week Friday. I didn't listen to the radio last week Friday. I was kind of busy.
Did it say in relation to what?
I think it was something in regards to the way that the house, at the glass house, and the governor. I don't know. I'm not going to even go there, but I thought you would remember.
Yeah. Sometimes I do, and sometimes you conveniently forget, and sometimes you're insufficiently, Boy, anyway, but no, I don't recall. But what I can say that whenever people reference you in particular, it's always in a very positive, loving way. And there are people more often than not that we may think we know who they are, or one or two who will identify. So it's always been very positive. The few times I do recall. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. You take care.
You too, and thanks again, for referencing to our users of the roads, on the East-West Arterial, on Southern Road, and otherwise. That in every road, whether you're driving or whether you're on the road for some other reason, exercising or otherwise, make yourself as visible as possible, be as sensible and careful as possible to avoid injury to yourself or to others. At the end of the day, what I say, the life you save may be your own. Well, I'm going to pause and take a break. We'll return with the excellent company of Mr. Tibbetts and Ms. Hurston. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Families are like branches on a tree. We grow in different directions, yet our roots remain deeply intertwined as one. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, has remained stable, strong, and deeply rooted in the community. The past 2 years have been very difficult, but they have taught all of us the value of family and embracing our loved ones. This 2022, Savannah Pharmacy encourages everyone to get in touch with your roots, embrace your heritage, show some extra love to your neighbor, and make the year a memorable one. Time is precious. Cherish it and those you love. Savannah Pharmacy, always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336 or WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
For the record.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you.
For the record.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record.
Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome, and thanks very much for joining us. And as Ms. John shared, we will get into the discussions every day to make it useful and beneficial. And we invite you now to pay attention and share. We have an opportunity to encourage our listeners to see the forward progression of our society and the continued investment in our people, by our government and the like. So the Director of the Needs Assessment Unit, Ms. Tamara Hurlston, good afternoon, ma'am. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year's to everyone.
And that's what they say, and what they tell me, they say on the bracket, and they don't say Happy New Year, they say Feliz Año Nuevo, as they do in West Bay. So the Director of the Government, Mr. Ian Tibbetts, good afternoon, sir, and Happy New Year.
Good afternoon, and Happy New Year to you and to the listening public.
Thank you. And I'm hoping that we will not only be able to call those things that aren't as if they were, not only be able to have within our spirit this sense of giving and thanksgiving, be grateful and gracious, So if it's July, we're singing Christmas carols. If it's December 24th, we're singing Christmas carols. And whether any time in between we see people, we're wishing them a Happy New Year. Not because, it's the eve of, 1 year and the end of another, but because indeed we want it to be a happy, healthy, prosperous, safe, productive, peaceful, day, year, and month ahead. I mean, if you're at my height and you can't laugh, geez, things not good. But we know that great things are happening within the government. We know the continued investment that we have in our people wanting to make sure that things work as best. And together with our collaboration of the needs assessment and the sort of electronic platforms that we're leveraging, getting kind of accustomed. I can't quite say yet that I'm going to trade in my pen for stylus, but maybe one day I might have to, right? So maybe through you first, Miss Tamara.
Well, yes. First, I'd like to say, with eGov, we've been able to be very innovative with how we're trying to reform the needs assessment unit. Thanks to Ian and his team, we've been able to create something, an online application version of our paper application. And during COVID, this is very critical because as we know, we're battling COVID right now. We're trying to limit the number of persons in offices and in spaces. So this has helped us quite a bit. It's now available online. It's at www.nau.gov.ky. And once you go on to our new website, which also with the help of eGov, we were able to launch that late last year, there is an icon on the top saying Apply Online. Once you select that, you'll be able to see a guideline there that takes you through the application process with the online version. It also will play a video so that you can actually watch if you need to see how you can upload the documents and complete the information. So it's very handy. We're still having the paper version available, which is also on the website. We still have our office open to the public, but we're trying to limit that access for those who really need to come in. If you're an existing client already, this is a good way for you to upload your documents because we would have seen you before. If you're a new client, it's also a good way. We also know that our elderly are persons who sometimes are technologically challenged, if I can say it right, and therefore they may shy away from the online platform. But we're also asking persons, whether it's your family members or persons in the community, if you can assist an elderly person or someone who needs help with the online application form, please do so. I'm happy to say we've dropped off some of the, we have some little pamphlets available. It takes you through the steps of how you can go on the online application and complete it. We've actually dropped some off to the representatives in each district. So if you need assistance and you go to their office, they're also able to assist persons with uploading applications. I actually got a call this morning from one of the representatives, and they were quite pleased with how easy the process is, and they have been assisting persons to upload documents to avoid them having to travel to town to come into NAU. So that's another benefit. The form can work on your mobile phone, a tablet, a computer. So it's very flexible and adaptable. Even if you don't have a computer at home, you can use your phone. Most persons in the Cayman Islands have a phone. You can use the camera to take a picture of the document and upload it. They also have apps, Adobe Scan. There are different apps you can use to actually scan documents on your phone and then upload them. We are also always available if anyone have any questions or they have any queries, or if something isn't as clear, they can contact the Needs Assessment Unit at 946 0024.
946 0024.
Correct. Okay. The video, the instructional video, I would advise everyone, it's about 10 minutes or so long. Please take an opportunity to first watch the video. It'll clarify the steps. And like I said, the pamphlet's also there. It's online also, so that you can review it and read it before you start the application process. It'll make it that much easier.
As I listened, sorry, Mr. Davis. I was thinking as I listened to Ms. Tamara, we're not just modernizing, we're trying to make things accessible and convenient. Recognizing, I joke and jest, I wouldn't want to trade my stylus for my pen, or my pen for my stylus. But there are those who say, well, what's a pen? Right? And, I was saying to someone yesterday, I like CDs. I thought that was one of the greatest innovations, right? And yet there are probably some who would treasure an 8-track tape today. All right? We're looking at where we are in relation to advancing, making it convenient. There are many who would say, well, this thing works, but it doesn't work if I'm using this particular device because of the orientation and all of the things that go behind. So your department has a lot to do, because who's using what? Is it a tablet? Is it a laptop? You have to formulate and format everything specifically to ensure that the user has it then and there with their frustration.
Exactly. When there's a couple of things, Mr. Mark touched on. We realize that digital isn't the easiest or the choice for everyone. Mm-hmm. However, I think, as you've seen over the last decade or so, persons that had no experience with computers are now very, very competent users, right?
Very comfortable.
And I think we also need to recognize that the clientele of the needs assessment unit, we shouldn't assume that by default they don't have access to technology.
Or they're not savvy.
Right? Well, that is definitely an assumption you don't want to make.
Exactly.
Right? But the idea is that if it's the right option for them, if it's the preferred option for them, if it's an easy option, and certainly with, as Tamara mentioned, during times like this with COVID, it's easy and it's available to them. To the point about the different devices, one of the key considerations we have when we're working through developing a solution is that it responds to the type of device that you're using. This is a can be labor intensive, shall we say, because what'll look great on this model of iPhone may not look quite as good on the next, and finding that balance, because you present it one way on a large screen or on a tablet, and then you change the format, and then what happens if you choose to put it vertical versus horizontal, right?
That's it.
All of that's factored in. And it's something that you continually refine, and as new models come out and so forth. But definitely the intent is that this is something you can do from your phone. I think feedback from a fairly recent user was they were able to complete the process in about 10 to 15 minutes.
Correct,
and,
yes.
And they were using a mobile phone, and that was pre-video. They didn't. So we have the video there as a comfort, and as if you have questions, if you're not sure, here you can see exactly what's going to be involved throughout. It does help you to prepare, because obviously, the process has a degree of due diligence in it that does require you to provide a number of documents. And so it's helpful if you have those documents. If you're ready to execute, you can then go through it quite quickly. So the video does come in quite handy from that perspective as well.
I agree, and that's why I encourage persons to watch the video and also to print the guidelines for our application, because it actually takes you through the documentation that is needed, so that when you're sitting at the computer, you have everything you need. Like Ian said, it could take about 10 to 15 minutes for you to upload and complete if you have everything available and ready.
And those documents won't change if they were to bring them in person or they upload. They're the same documents that you required. So you would have them to hand. Now, I know that some of us will say, well, if I'm at my desk and I have a scanner that can scan multiple pages, or if I'm home, I may have a scanner that can only scan one page. But even with the phone, as you shared, we can have the apps that allow us to take pictures or to scan and upload it seamlessly.
Yes, you can.
So it's a matter of getting comfortable and educated with it. Now, there's another aspect as well to the security issue, whether you're sending something that isn't that sensitive, but it's personal to you and for you it's important, or it is highly sensitive. I know that your initiative is, I guess, first and foremost, primary concern, the security. Make sure that this is as secure as possible.
Yeah. So absolutely. And I'll go on security, but remind me to come back to talking about the use of scanners versus devices and so forth.
Yeah.
So absolutely, security is at the heart of everything we do. I mean, the confidentiality of persons' information, it has to be a paramount concern. But we have to find the balance between making processes efficient and effective, and respectful of privacy and so forth. I mean, last year we collectively went through with eGov and needs assessment and with assistance of other departments as well, looking at, well, how can we, is there a way that we can reduce the information that we need? Is there a way that we can desensitize the information that you need to make your decision? So all of that factors in, before you start to get into software. It's looking at processes, it's looking at what you require. Then when you do, we utilize, look for platforms that have security by design. The software then the way that we develop it considers security. Then afterwards we test it. So while you design, you think you designed it to be this way. It's testing it for functionality, testing it for security, confidentiality, etc. All of that's done by different parties within government. I mean, so we talk about needs assessment because obviously they're the client. They're from an internal perspective, they're the client to get to our external client, right? From a Cayman Islands government perspective. But there are other parties that also factor into the into this process. The silent heroes in the background. You have persons from computer services who have been involved in developing the software with us. Persons again computers that have been involved in the testing, legal. The communications team. There's a wide variety of persons that all come together to deliver one of these initiatives. But certainly to your core point, security and confidentiality is paramount. One of the things to that end kind of leads me back to what I was going to say about the phones and scanners. So first of all, in a lot of cases nowadays, persons will actually receive their invoices and the documents digitally to start with. So it can be quite convenient if you already have the document on your phone to put it straight into an application or on your PC, right? If you have a scanner, that's an option. If you have a phone with a camera, smartphone, you're able to take pictures of the documents and use that. But one of the things, recognizing, we talked about this process potentially being, say, 10, an order of 10 minutes or so. You have the ability to pause the application and come back. So you can actually save the work you've done
and return
and
to it.
come back. So you find, okay, I need to, I can't submit yet because I need these 5 documents or these whatever. You can save the document, get it and come back. But you could not only just save the document and get it and come back. You could have been doing this process from your computer, but now you don't have a scanner, so you want to use your phone to take the pictures of the documents. So you can save it from the computer and resume it from your mobile device,
or vice versa,
or from wherever. Because the idea is you're coming in, you're returning to that session. To do that, we send you, when you say, I want to save and continue, then, or save and return later, you then get sent a code to your mobile phone, and it's that code that you're able to use with all the basic information to regain access to that application.
Okay. We're going to a quick break, Mr. Fox. Boy, the days are dancing deliberately. All right, I'm going to pause and take a break. When we come back, I wanted to ask you to rejoin us, please. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
At Subway, we caramel a lot about our customers, so we decided to give you 2 treats in one with the new Caramel Apple Cookie. Enjoy cinnamon apples, caramel bits, and salted caramel crunch baked in, and topped with a drizzle of caramel-flavored icing. Gooey, crunchy, and yummy. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious Caramel Apple Cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert, available for limited time at all Subway locations. Subway, eat fresh.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Thanks to to our very diligent and dedicated civil servants who exhibit a great call far and greater than sometimes we expect of them, but certainly the public actually aware. As we speak to Mr. Mar Huddleston, the director of the Needs Assessment Unit, and the director over the e-government unit, Mr. Ian Tibbetts, the reference earlier about the people, the unsung heroes in the background. As end users or something, we just want it to work. Rarely do we think about, well, how did this get to be displaced? Now there's a problem, or we can find it. So as we talk with the different people, I can imagine referencing the documents. Maybe it's a birth certificate that you need. There are other agencies in government, other people there that have to procure that. And then if they send that to you electronically, there's that confidentiality and security aspect to let all this be seamless and securely integrated. But Mr. Mar, from the perspective of service in both your existing and potential new clients, whether here or Grand Cayman, here or on the Brac, here in Little Cayman, or it could be a client who, for some reason now is overseas because of government thing, needing to access it. This allows a platform to be seamless and accessible.
It does.
Then and there.
It does. And although, like I said, 60% of our clientele are elderly, and we know the elderly can be shy of technology, but I would like to encourage for the public to make sure that you're assisting your elderly, whether it's your parents, your neighbor, or someone else, a church member. Make sure that we are helping one another, because the reality is we've had a lockdown before. Not that we're going into a lockdown. We're not going to go into a lockdown, but at that time, we only had email access to NAU, so you would basically have to email in information. And it was very cumbersome because, of course, you have to find someone who has an email if you're elderly, or you have to allow a visitor to come in or somehow get those documents to them. So this is a new way where we can actually, encourage persons to visit their loved ones and help them if they need help with uploading the application forms. We also have our NAU in our district initiative, where one Friday out of each month we're in a different district, whether it's the Eastern Districts, East End, Bordentown, or we're in West Bay, North Side also. But right now we are on a little bit of a pause because of COVID. We were using the public libraries, but that's it's not available at this time. So we'll be doing East End and North Side. The calendar will be published. It is actually already published on the government website. So if you go into www.gov.ky, there is a calendar element on there, and you'll see all of the NAU in our district's events that's coming up in the future. And we will be rolling back in Bordentown and West Bay at a later date as soon as we can find locations that we're able to use for those.
I have a Bridgewood tree. I mean,
and hey, we might need to use it. But those are other areas that you can also access. And again, we're encouraging you to use the online platform. But if you are coming into the districts, as much as you can do yourself before you reach there will be greatly appreciated. And, the staff will be there to provide further guidance as needed. You can also access us on our Facebook page. So if you do a search for Needs Assessment Cayman, you'll be able to pull up the Needs Assessment Facebook page, and we encourage you to follow us so you can hear about all of the new and creative things that we have coming out in the couple years to come, because we do have quite a few things that we have on the table. And that'll also allow you to know anytime we have any changes, whether it's to applications or different events that are going on. So I encourage everyone to go out there and see if you can search for Needs Assessment Cayman and follow us on Facebook.
If I can ask you then, in relation to what you shared, maybe two items, the time to sort of turn around applications. If we're doing electronically, it should presumably increase the efficiency and access and the like.
It would. And the idea here is where we take your documents and scan them for you. If you are doing that for yourself, and we're now having documents already scanned and the image is good, and you've already completed the information online, it's easier to export into a system. So it does reduce the time for assessment. So I would encourage persons, because it would make sure that your application is pushed further up to the top quicker, because you've done most of the work before it's reached to us. So it does cut down on the time.
And then with respect to sort of, I'll use it from, if there are different words, you let me know, but thinking of renewal and reviews, in another life I lived in where we had to look at things, if the documents were there, we can process it faster, review, make the renewal, do all the things. This would then help you likewise?
Yes, it would. Speaking of just the online application, it's just the beginning of where we're going. I'll speak about the new system that hopefully will be online within the next year or so. We have some background work to do with it. EGOV will also be helping us with that.
But in case you didn't know. No. We know. I just see you.
But the idea there is that as much as we can reduce duplication of efforts, because right now if we're uploading the information, the client is also having to bring in paper information. That's duplicate. If they're already uploading the information, our officers won't have to do as much on that end, and we can focus on case management and getting your service to you at a quicker pace. So hopefully in the future we'll have a database where it's interactive, where you'll actually be in a system where you can upload your documents and also pay attention to when your services are approved and when you're due to be reassessed, etc. So it'll be more efficient and more informative and more interactive with our clients. But that's for within the next year to 18 months.
This is where I shared earlier this notion that we're advancing. People may not necessarily appreciate that. I was just looking at a comment that come through earlier, and I wanted to ensure that I didn't miss it in relation to NAU, because I thought I saw it, but then of course with my glasses on, I probably didn't see it. All right, we've got a news break to take. We come back, and if you need 5 minutes or 5 hours more, we'll provide it. I'll go for lunch. You guys can keep the platform. Just kidding. We'll pause and take our news, but when we return, please rejoin us, and we'll see what has to be shared. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The country sees its first COVID-19 related deaths of the year to reported Tuesday evening. That brings a total number since the start of the pandemic to 14. In addition, 440 new cases of the virus were reported on Tuesday, 17 of those in the sister islands. In international news, scientists are seeing signals that COVID-19's alarming Omicron wave may have peaked in Britain and is about to do the same in the U.S., at which point cases may start dropping off dramatically. The reason? The variant has proved so widely contagious that it may already be running out of people to infect, just a month and a half after it was first detected in South Africa. Prices in the U.S. are rising at their fastest rate in almost 40 years, with inflation up 7% year-on-year in December. Strong demand and scarce supply for key items such as cars are driving the increases, which are putting pressure on policymakers to act. The U.S. Central Bank is expected to raise interest rates this year. The rising borrowing costs is aimed at reducing demand by making purchases, such as cars, more expensive. And Prince Andrew is to face a civil case in the U.S. over allegations he sexually assaulted a woman when she was 17. Virginia Giuffre is suing the prince, claiming he abused her in 2001. His lawyers said the case should be thrown out, citing a 2009 deal she signed with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. But a New York judge ruled that the case could be heard. The prince has consistently denied the claims. Buckingham Palace said it would not comment on an ongoing legal matter. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And we're really grateful for this. A few extra minutes now to recap, repeat, so that we can ensure that you're reminded, but also this information is relayed to you in such a way that it resonates and causes people to take it to heart. So, Mr. Mara Helston is the Director of Needs Assessment, and Mr. Ian Tibbetts, Director of Youth Government. This collaboration, if I might say, shows a level of innovation within our government, and our Honourable Minister sort of leading that charge, and in the receptiveness of those civil servants, their technical skills, the competence, but also the commitment. What was that commitment? Get her done.
Yep.
Sorry, I watched a few things over Christmas. But Mr. Mara, help us to be mindful of it as you share.
Yes. So again, I'd just like to reiterate the fact that we are going through a COVID crisis, right? The world is, and we're trying to do things online as much as possible, and we're discouraging get social gatherings and also gatherings in public buildings where there's a possibility of spread. Needs Assessment Unit, as we know, have over 1,000 families that we serve. And if everyone is coming into the office, it's obviously a public health concern. So with that being said, we'd like to encourage persons to continue to go online, which is www.nau.gov.ky, and then just go to the icon saying apply online, which is on the top middle, I believe. And you'll be able to go into that icon, and it'll show you, provide you with the guidelines on how you can apply online, and it'll also have an informational video for you to watch. The contact number for the Needs Assessment Unit is 946-0024. Please do call us if you have any issues with the application form, or if you need to visit the office. We're still available in person, but we're trying to discourage that. Again, we thank you for your participation. We'll hope to have the NAU in our districts initiatives in the Eastern districts up and running later this year, but the the Eastern is up. We have we have North Side and East End, but Bordentown is not up as yet. West Bay, we hope to have in play along with Bordentown later this year. Please also follow us on our Facebook page, which is Needs Assessment Unit Cayman, and you'll be able to follow us there for any further announcements and changes in our services. Thank you.
All right. If you're like me, following doesn't mean you literally follow behind. So I'm learning that. Back in the day, you following her? Yeah, that's a stalker. No, this is different. I just kidding. Hey, listen, if you can't joke about something. But Mr. Tibbetts, I commend you and your team for rolling out. I remember, if it's okay to share with people, former parliamentarian Mr. Elio Solomon, when he was part of the core government as community services, then as a parliamentarian, talking about e-governance and bringing things into play. It just shows you that it takes concerted, consistent effort, and things don't always come into play. That hardware that you talked about, the infrastructure that we need to put in place, but getting it there, that investment that was going to allow, the elderly person as well as that young individual and all in between, just because of convenience, to be able to efficiently, effectively access something in a timely manner. So Thank you, man.
Yeah, you're most welcome. And this is about making making it easier for people to get access to government services and assistance that they need. Right. And at the end of the day, why else, right?
Right.
So we're happy to be have been a part of it, and we really look forward to continuing. We see this as very much an evolution, a continual enhancement, right? Because what's there. What was there? 2 months? What was there 6 months ago?
Exactly.
It's very different from what was there 2 months ago, which is now enhanced again. With the online actual completion of the online, and then we want to add additional conveniences to it, so that some of the information that you today have to provide, the system will be able to reach out and get for you with your consent, or from other systems and so forth. So it's a continual improvement, and we're just happy to be able to assist the needs assessment in assisting their clients.
Yes,
not assisting.
But at the end of the day, we talked briefly in the break about collaboration, and that's what it's all about. And it's not just collaboration within government; it's collaboration across our community. We're helping persons that need assistance.
I mean, this could play out in the end where just within the respective government agencies. You need something to go from point A to point B to facilitate the end user. We are the government. It is us, who are impacted and affected, and hopefully are benefiting from it. So if we know what we're doing, if we're doing it together, if we have confidence in the confidentiality, in the competence, as well as, all the other things, it makes it much better. So I appreciate the hands-on approach.
And we have been sharing information, as Ian said. There are some systems that are currently speaking to each other as we speak, and that's some of the technology we'd like to take advantage of at the needs assessment unit to lessen the load on our clients to have to provide information. So we're looking forward to further changes in the system. Right. And if I could just wrap up one more time with the website,
please,
is www.nau.gov.ky. Apply online, which is to the top, so and you will have
.ky?
.ky.
Okay.
So NAU .ky. So www.nau.gov.ky.
Okay.
And then there's an apply online logo on the top, and that'll take you to the video and also the guidelines on how you can apply online.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited. And I, without question, can predict, if there's such a thing allowed these days, that with absolute confidence, in short order, you'll be back here. We'll be talking about further enhancements to ensure your clients are served, much more effectively and efficiently, and the access is that much more greatly improved. So, thanks very much, to the efforts of those with the technical skills, to those who are voting the funds, to those who are procuring the physical equipment. So, and let the record reflect, Madam Speaker, that she has an online application guide. There'll probably be a few out here already came on to pick up, probably within the government buildings as well.
Well, we have them at the district offices for the representatives now, but we plan to have them available at the government administration building and also in Cayman Brac at our office at the Cayman Brac location.
Well, if I can say it's printed in a sufficiently legible, large format that even a talk show host can read. So it won't take long, and there's only a few pages. So the attention span of those guys that should be on that. Let's kidding. Let me behave. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome,
Mr. Meyer and Mr. Tibbetts. It's always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You guys have a wonderful rest of the Wednesday and the week and months and years ahead. All right, dear listeners, we're going to pause and take a break and honor and a nod to Miss Jan. Let's have some open line. Call and complain if you want. Call and criticize me if you want. Call and compliment me if you like when you hear. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Darby Bernard Tibbetts, MBE. Bernard Tibbetts has spent his life serving the people of Cayman Brac. In his youth, he communicated with the island's ships by radio telephone, keeping seamen in touch with their families. He later became a wireless operator and was transferred to Cable and Wireless when it took over telecommunications in the Cayman Islands. In his 45 years working in communication, he undertook private study, enabling him in his spare time to do photo processing and repair the island's cars, trucks, radios, refrigerators, and air conditioners. He also established a family retail business. He served as president of the Kimmenbrack High School PTA, director of Kimmenbrack Power and Light Company, deacon of Stake Bay Baptist Church, trustee of Little Cayman Baptist Church, and member of the Brack's Hospital Building and Development Committees. In 1983, he was honored by receiving the MBE directly from Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Mr. Bernard sings and plays music and has written a number of gospel songs and tracts, as well as a paper about life on Kimmenbrack before the modern era.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Kimmenbrack and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Families are like branches on a tree. We grow in different directions, yet our roots remain deeply intertwined as one. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, has remained stable, strong, and deeply rooted in the community. The past 2 years have been very difficult, but they have taught all of us the value of family and embracing our loved ones. This 2022, Savannah Pharmacy encourages everyone to get in touch with your roots, embrace your heritage, show some extra love to your neighbor, and make the year a memorable one. Time is precious. Cherish it and those you love. Savannah Pharmacy, always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336 or WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year!
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Guess what? We're back. And we wish you a Happy New Year from the Flex family.
This week on the Flex, we will be having caring teachers. The word of the week is adulting.
I'm adulting. Don't make fun of my adulting. That's insulting. Spell it.
ADULTING. It is a noun that means the practice of behaving like a responsible adult, especially the accomplishment of mundane but necessary tasks.
And maybe some other adulting Flex family will pass through.
Hi! How are you? You can join us this Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM. YouFlex, a program for all people by young people. YouFlex, more than talk.
When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed, and I close my eyes and smile. Sometimes I feel.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you so much, for this opportunity, and I'll share this with you. Some will certainly, without question, add great value as they always do in helping us to be even better. So anything that we can or do, and me specifically, improve not just the content but the delivery, the accessibility, hey, let us know. Give me a shout so that we can improve it. It's a new year, a new day. Every new hour provides an opportunity to make things better. Sometimes when we measure better, we look at how much more money we have made. Not necessarily even how much we saved out of that new money we've made, but how much we've made. Well, the savings are important. Savings in time as well, probably would trump it all. But if it's better because it makes others, improve, well, that's great. So help us. Again, thanks to Ms. Tamara Huddleston over at the Needs Assessment Unit as Director and her team, and to Ms. Dion Tibbetts at e-Government and the team for sharing with us just now. For those of you who are now getting increasingly comfortable with leveraging the available technology, the new website, www.nau.gov, that's gov.ky, should assist you and help us to deliver the services not just in a very timely, efficient, effective manner, but very, very, conscious of the cost, the financial cost, the cost of time, and utilization of all the other resources. Well, let's have some open line. What is on your mind? What is it? We know that with the sort of increasing challenges that many of us may face relative to our finances, the concerns that we may have because of that, how do we provide for our families? Pay the bills, make ends meet. Perhaps even to continue in our employment, not because our employer, or it may be that it is our business and we're the employer of a lot of people or only a handful. We may be the sole proprietor. We may have investments that we're sort of living on and just managing those. So what will the world economies look like, and will those investments in those financial instruments, will they continue to perform and pay healthy return? Will the properties, commercial or residential, that we have from which we get income, will that continue to be occupied? A lot of us are worrying about things that for some reason we never worried about as much before or worried at all, recognizing that they're probably beyond our control to a great extent, or so we think. And that may cause a bit of angst amongst us. Well, what do we do and how do we respond to it? Well, again, valuing who we are by the contributions that we make, by the time that we take to give thanks, to enjoy that which we have. Not living every day as it's our last, and interpreting and applying that to mean that we're partying and being festive. But obviously not denying ourselves those rewards, but by spending that quality time with those that are important, by doing those things that bring us joy. Now, I say this to hopefully remind myself that I too should probably do on board, and it's much easier said than done. How many of us, as much as we may enjoy, taking a boat out to go fishing, or fishing from the shore, and sometimes that's just in our backyards, or a vacant property that fronts the water, that we say one day, we'll build, if nothing more, a little cabana, a little space, a little dock. But we never do, not because we don't have the money, but we never make the time or the commitment. But it could just be walking the beach, or some nature trail somewhere. Now, we don't do it because we probably don't feel that we have the time to do all of the other things that we need to do. Now, on top of that, when we do make time to do it, when we do go and walk the beach, or escape the beaten path, as it were, what is that experience like? Are we concerned for our safety? Is the space accessible? Again, the great work of the Public Lands Commission, we've seen through the cleanup initiatives in December, that a lot of the beach accesses are increasingly being attended to. Attempts, sometimes deliberately, some would even say maliciously, by different people to block those accesses, need to be addressed so that we have that unfettered access. And when we think that the access should have been, already established, to find out legally that, well, they're not because they were never registered, never applied. Well, those things that speak to the letter of the law, but not necessarily the spirit, well, how do we revisit that? And by the same token, how do we respect others' private property? Now, for some, that's without question. For others, well, really, isn't it all public? Well, perhaps not in a society that looks at the rule of law. But then there are those who may have, for them, a technical victory, knowing and perhaps not caring that they've, been served a great affront to the social ethos. Take, for instance, the allegations of many where, speaking specifically to accesses, but accesses on the beach primarily, where, big boulders, not just walls, but other things have been placed ever increasingly closer and closer to the water's edge, to the, planting and upkeep of vegetation, not just ensuring that it gets more and more into the water, but it's of a type that heavily discourages people to move through the access paths. To even when they're not, those prickly, thorny types of shrubbery, but they're allowed to overgrow and make it a bit of a challenge, to say it nicely. Well, is that inattentiveness on the part of the people, or is it deliberately to discourage? There's a balance. We should use things in a very, very respectful and responsible way, but we should also ensure that we are doing our part to preserve and protect those spaces. If we were now to look at some of the things that have been transpiring in the last couple of years, a lot probably can be said that would cause us to complain, as it were. But are there any good, positive outcomes? Let's look at public restroom facilities, for instance, whether in restaurants as a patron having a meal, to a public space, airports, for instance, that we're going through. Are they noticeably a lot cleaner? Are they being serviced a lot more frequently? Now, we who use them, are we also paying attention to that? Well, let's continue to invite constructive dialogue and input. 949-8037, 949-6990, or Flo makes it a toll-free call at 1-800-534-8255. Of course, you can WhatsApp 925-3261 as we listen to this voice note.
Good afternoon, Sterling. I'm not sure what your subject is for today, but I need to get a message out to the Minister for Agriculture and also the head of that department. And the message is this: we need a solution. We need for them to put a solution in place for the thousands of wild chickens that are roaming this country and interfering with the backyard farmers. We are frustrated to the max, to put it very nicely. And it's preventing our efforts. The chickens are coming in, and as fast as you put it in the ground, they are digging it back up for you. It is a most frustrating task to try to grow anything, and I would like for the minister responsible for agriculture and also the head of the department to please address this. It is frustrating us to death. Thank you. Bye.
Well, thanks very much to that listener for sharing that perspective. And we invite others to do likewise. 949-8037 if you want to call. 949-6990, another number to call. Or Flo makes it a toll-free call at 1-800-534-8255. And then, like that last listener, well, you can WhatsApp, type it. You can record a voice note, 925-3261. And the voice note speaks to the other issue that some of you have been sharing relative to national security and to other things concerning our people, and how are we looking when it comes to food supply, food production. And understandably, for some of us, we're cognizant that as we go in to purchase, many goods that we consume, we're probably concerned or questioning whether their prices have been increasing and asking ourselves why, without probably appreciating the extent to which it's been increasingly challenging to get some of the goods, not just acquire them, but maybe the cost to ship them here are also increasing. The availability, the quantity, and the selection could be issues. Now, what are we doing about it? And as I call emphasize, maybe we need to address a number of things so that those individuals, for whatever reason, maybe they're being in their minds, very, very prudent and planting out their crops and try to have as much of the ground provisions available, to them. Maybe it's a health choice, or maybe they see that financially they need to complement, their incomes, or they need to be able to supplement what's on the table. Perhaps it's a hobby that they've had all along, and they want to ensure that they can enjoy that now. Well, whether it was the iguanas of time or the chickens of today, they're much that people are concerned about. There are even, sadly, many of us who have lamented that we have something planted, and only to find that overnight or during the day it somehow escapes our yard. Put that nicely. Let me translate it. People come in and help themselves. They take it without asking. For some, it's not just the fruit and the vegetables that we have, but it's the entire plant. I've heard from many individuals that not only their ornamentals, like the orchids and the like, but to their mango trees, not just the fruit on the tree, but the actual tree itself being taken, liberated, as it were, to having people's sand and gravel and blocks taken from their yards as well. Interesting times in which we live. Questions are asking as to why we're doing those things. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Now, here's a couple of other WhatsApp messages that we want to share. It says, good afternoon, sir. I know people hate on the chickens, but I can foresee the day when we will have to eat those chickens. I'll share with you a similar sentiment someone expressed in relation to the iguanas as well. We were taking them up, and what if they're a very clean and delicious source of protein? Was there a way to do it? So as we go into the break, let me share. Well, thanks. Let's take the break and then I'll share the other comment from the WhatsApp when we return. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Families are like branches on a tree. We grow in different directions, yet our roots remain deeply intertwined as one. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, has remained stable, strong, and deeply rooted in the community. The past 2 years have been very difficult, but they have taught all of us the value of family and embracing our loved ones. This 2022, Savannah Pharmacy encourages everyone to get in touch with your roots, embrace your heritage, show some extra love to your neighbor, and make the year a memorable one. Time is precious. Cherish it and those you love. Savannah Pharmacy, always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336 or WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045.
It's time to update your information. If you've recently changed your mailing address, phone number, or email address, please let your Water Authority customer service team know. Visit our website www.waterauthority.ky to download and fill out our customer information update form, or contact our customer service team at info@waterauthority.ky or call 949-2837.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. It is open line as we go straight to the phones and welcome this caller. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Hi, Mr. Joel. How are you?
I appreciate you elevating me to that name. What Mr. Francis has and what hosted the show and how long. So good, man. He made a wonderful impression on us. How are you, Mom? Thanks for calling.
I'm very good.
So you have a word for us again today?
Yes, I'm just concerned about something, and I said I just want to share it with you guys.
Of course, of course.
I have seen the rapture, and I've been telling a lot of people that I've seen this thing. I've seen a lot of people up in the sky. And I am wondering if the rapture is going to come this year, because I've seen that.
Now, for some who subscribe, they would say there'll be some tribulation before. What is your perspective on it?
Well, I really don't know, because I just wondering what is going to happen, because this year is a new year we are into. So I right now I'm wondering what is going to happen.
Right.
Because I've seen that.
Yeah. I mean, there are some people.
I am wondering if anybody else out there has seen it.
Yeah. Why do you? And I want to be very sensitive, but also very sensible in asking. There are many of us who feel that we're imbued with the spirit of discernment, or we were given a gift of visions and the like. In your context, you've seen things, you feel these things. Why do you think that's on you like that?
Well, that the thing is that I have a gift, and I always see things. I always see things, and I always tell people, because even the corona. Before corona gets here, I tell people before it gets here. I know that it was coming. I'm telling people right now. I said to people, buy local, buy good vitamins for your body, because if you don't do that, then that means you will either sick or die.
Right. Now, with respect to you seeing that corona thing coming, you knew exactly what it was that would be that, or you just had a feeling that there was something that was going to happen? How, if you might share with us.
No, I vision seeing what was going to happen. I mean, the corona, what exactly was going to happen, and I tell a lot of people right now. There's a lot of people that know me that I tell about the corona. All that was going to happen in the corona. I tell them that plane was not going to move. People was going to be here and cannot leave. I tell them a lot of things about this corona. And all of what I tell them, it's happening.
Very detailed.
Remember, I did call your show and I said to you about the water that was going to come up around the island. I tell you about the march that was going to go on. And both of them went on, and the water did came up.
I mean, there are people who without question have a sense of insight. And the reason why I ask, and I don't wish to hopefully convey anything other than respect and an interest, who have shared that they had an uneasy feeling about different things, but they didn't necessarily have any or as much of a detailed insight as you had. So yours were pretty specific, huh? What else do you want to share with us? I mean, what else is on your spirit that you feel? Okay, well, thank you for that. And 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, or even 949-6990. And you can WhatsApp 925-3261. A lot of numbers to remember, and I would joke and say, well, if you can't remember the numbers to call us and we'll tell you, but I'm just kidding. There's a toll-free line that Flo provides access, 1-800-534-8255. Then there are some other numbers that you can use to share your thoughts with us. 1-800-534-8255 or 949-8037. That's 949-8037, 8037, or 949-6990. Let's read a WhatsApp. That number is 925-3261. It's just a WhatsApp message. This one's in relation to the chickens earlier. And we had a voice note that called in on the respective agencies, from the Minister of Agriculture to the Department of Agriculture, to help the farmers who are being challenged by the chickens coming in and scratching and undoing all their hard work. Listener weighed in and messaged and said, hey, maybe one day we need to eat them. Here are some other messages. Say maybe we could ask the government, the Agriculture Department, to build up some chicken coops for us. Someone is sharing that we could take, one and get eggs from it. We could be, conscious that one day if we rear them, there's a food supply, so we could be in need of having them to eat. What other issues do you see as a challenge? To that last caller, we probably will take it on board what she said, and we probably will hear it, and some will say, just hogwash. But is it possible, as my mother always reminds us, to take sense from nonsense? There is no question that if we get appropriate exposure to sunlight, the vitamin D itself is good, but we know that the sunlight helps the plants to grow better. That process we probably pay attention to in school. Photosynthesis. We also recognize that good exercise and movement helps us to be healthy. Not just the cardiovascular health, but even the socialization that come from activity. We also recognize that eating healthy, as the callers talked about, taking proper supplements, vitamins and minerals and the like to aid our body. And then those discussions all tie together nicely in that if we can eat what we grow and grow what we eat, then maybe the issue of national security from the food security perspective can be addressed somewhat, not entirely, but probably never be independently sufficiently positioned to provide for everything we need, not only because of supply and the timelines, but because of the increasing demand and the increased number of people to cater. Now, the question that is always asked, if generations past, is because there were lower numbers, why they were able to provide? Is it that there was a greater willingness to sacrifice? Is it that there was a recognition of the importance of what they did? So they were prepared, they were disciplined. All those factors probably come into play. The question is, what are we doing? For many of us, a good friend of mine, she said, we've become spoiled. I've become spoiled. We have an access that we enjoy. Not only, chocolate, but a variety of chocolate. All sorts of percentages, and we only sort of want to gravitate to a particular one, maybe a particular brand, maybe a particular type. That's just in chocolate. What about cheeses? What about in the other snacks? What about the cuts of meat, or even the choice of vegetables? We just don't want tomatoes. We want the biggest, perhaps, the firmest, the whatever it is that we want. As we look at it, we're very selective and touching and feeling and tossing and turning it over in our hands in order to ensure that's just the perfect one. Well, when what you have to eat is what you've taken from the tree or you've rooted from the ground, as long as it's still edible, you're probably more than glad to have it. It's great that we have this wonderful access to so much. but what are we doing to ensure that not only do we have it continually for ourselves, but for our families and neighbors, but for generations as well. Now, not to be so deep into our thoughts, and certainly not to discourage, but to appreciate what is transpiring and ask ourselves, what are we doing to improve it? We ask so much of our governments, and if we were to limit our discussions to just within our own borders, governments to provide this, governments should provide that. Well, what is the cost? Maybe it's an unlimited amount of money that we have, but then what about time? And if the government provides A, can it also provide B? Maybe, perhaps, but to the same extent that we want it. And then what about C, D, E, and F, and G? And if not, what are the costs of providing one thing at the expense of not providing something else? Do we even consider that? When we think of it, why are we prioritizing that? Well, we want A, but really, F is so much better and necessary. We better start with that first, because A can be had immediately, but F may take a lot longer. So if we start that in now, how many of us, when we're looking at washing our clothes, consider that if we were to wash a particular load first, because it takes longer to wash and perhaps longer to dry, whether it's to be hung on the lines or put into the dryer, would it be better to do that first and I guess a head start, so that when we do the other subsequent loads, it's already a more efficient, effective use of time? Or we just lump it all together and really give it no thought? So there's no strategy to how we do it. As simple as that. Think of a restaurant. You got 4 for dinner, and they've all ordered the same thing. Well, they want to bring it out at the same time, but if they ordered different things, now in amongst those 4, there are probably others in the restaurant. How does the chef and all the team make sure that the foods come to the table and they're all sufficiently warm enough, fresh enough? Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling. Dwayne.
And to you, sir. Always a pleasure. How are you?
Thank you. Just fine. That's a quick input here.
Yes, sir.
The lady who called about the visions and things like that, and that she knows what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. If she bought some numbers, she'd be able to know what number is going to play. She could make herself a good bit of change right there, because numbers are selling all around the place.
Sorry, sir.
A bit thought for her to make some money there. Yeah. Might as well put it to good use if she thinks that she knows what's going to happen and things like that, Mm-hmm. Might as well make some money out of it.
Right.
Yeah. Anyhow, everything you got to take with a grain or a pound of salt. Mm-hmm. But the chicken thing, I feed chickens all the while. That's how we all grew up. Chickens, kept many chickens. Oh, we know that. Many animals. There are a lot of young men out of work and not working and idle. We see them every day. I don't need to hammer that home to you. Mm-hmm. You know that.
Yes, sir.
And there's plenty of government land that they could give it to them and some any boards, any contractor would be willing to give them some extra boards. It doesn't take much to build some chicken coops, and they could put them in. They could get the eggs. They could raise them and go around and catch them is the easiest thing in the world. You know that. It's easy. They're pretty tame. And get them there. It's hundreds, it's thousands they could make in each district. You could have these coops. If the storm comes, none came recently that destroyed very much, except for grapes, and that doesn't happen very often. Then you build it right back, it's no problem.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's how they got away, many of them in the first place, Hurricane Ivan. And you build it right back, and you do that, and they could make a living out of it. I'm not joking. This is
no. If I might ask you though, do you think
they could do it?
Yeah.
And the government could give them some feed, buy some, the food, corn from the. It's very cheap anyhow to do, and they're getting subsidies from government. So put it to good use,
Yes, sir.
It can be done. It can be done. It's not a very complicated thing. Answers to many things are not complex answers. They're just simple. Simple. Go ahead, let's do it. Get it done. You can do it. You'll sit and idle, but might as well do something.
Yes, sir.
And the chickens are there.
Well, I'm hoping that we would look at the resources that are here and not, ignore what may be very obvious. So I appreciate you sharing and reminding us.
I'll just say one quick thing. The other alternative is this. It's a very morbid one. But you'd have to think the other alternative would be to poison them. Let poison them. What you've got to understand, because you can't trap them all and carry them into the agriculture and euthanize them. That what you've got to understand, you may also poison other animals, cats, dogs, and possibly children. So you've got to think about things. To every problem, there are solutions. Some solutions are very, very drastic. So we've got to think, got to learn to live with things, cope with it the best we can. Have a wonderful day, sir. Thank you for
and to you, sir. Thank you. Well, thank you for sharing that. We certainly want to take all the calls. Let me take the directions now. Are we going to the break, sir, or are we going to the phone? We're going to pause for that break for the call in the queue. With the greatest respect, we'll come right back to you.
At Subway, we caramel a lot about our customers, so we decided to give you 2 treats in one with the new Caramel Apple Cookie. Enjoy cinnamon apples, caramel bits, and salted caramel crunch baked in, and topped with a drizzle of caramel-flavored icing. Gooey, crunchy, and yummy. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious Caramel Apple Cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert, available for a limited time at all Subway locations. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Let's keep working together to protect our community by practicing social distancing, by wearing a mask, by washing our hands or using hand sanitizer, and by getting your booster. These simple actions save lives. Let's keep working together. For more information on COVID-19, visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for sharing us on Open Line as we go to the phones. Hey, welcome. Thank you for calling.
Hey, Rambo, sir. Rambo speaking.
Hey, Rambo. How you doing, man?
My head's straight now. Thank God.
Amen, brother. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, God bless him. The Messiah. Different Sterling, differently, right?
Uh-huh.
So, let's say in life, right? You talk about the wild chickens and whatever. Right? So, enough. You have it, you do sense. Right? Right? You purge them out. They have to. The ones from the antioxidants. You understand? Right? We're in a basis. Central America, the big ones. In the Oriental, the big ones. You understand? That's simple ABC. 1, 2, 3. You understand?
Right.
But in life now, in Parliament, Jordan, give me 1 minute. I can finish now.
Yeah, man, take your time.
No, right? I take my time. In Parliament now, right? Who going wrong with it? That remember is Emily, right? Remember the civil assembly? The leak now, right? But in Parliament now.
Right.
And now, Jordan, get the entrepreneur, the head shrink, the psychiatrist, and the lawyer. We talk about the discussion differently. You understand?
Right.
But no, simple, simplest in life is simple. and a hard task that are difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Right.
So.
Yeah,
Take it easy.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Take it easy as well, man. And we see where we are with everything that we have before us. And to other callers, hey, use the available resources that we have, 949-8037. Toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255 or WhatsApp 925-3261. A number of comments have come in relative to the chickens. One sort of reference what I shared earlier from another relative to the iguanas. May be a pest or a nuisance, as this message says, but is it a provision even before we recognize that it's a need? Is what this listener is asking. And appreciating that, for some of us, we may not necessarily like to eat the chicken meat, but we find the eggs to be beneficial. But the message always asks, is it part of the problem that we have gotten so far away from, the source of the food, so accustomed to, going into an air-conditioned space, buying it, and then it's already prepared and packaged, and we don't have to do anything. Well, is it the perception now that if we, grow it ourselves, if we rear it ourselves, we go to the chicken coop, that for some reason that thing isn't the same quality, it isn't as nutritious, it isn't as safe? Well, as I exchanged a couple of comments back with that listener, is it that, again, we don't, generally speaking, understand how to plant and grow our foods? We don't know how to rear the cattle, the poultry, and the like. So that if we had chickens, how many of us actually know, how to get the egg, how to retrieve the egg when the egg is still good? But maybe it's for whatever reason we're not eating eggs or chickens or other meats, but it's the vegetable, the fruit. Well, can we find the seeds in the plants to propagate and to be able to have that to our dinner tables? And when we do, is it of the same quality? Has it been sufficiently altered that it now has changed, not just in its taste, but perhaps in its benefit? As I look at one message now, sometimes we question sometimes how some things just transpire in our lives, and we wonder, is there a sense of, conspiracy, as some would say? Is it just coincidence or the like? Well, this listener has weighed in and shared that it's primarily an issue that we no longer appreciate, the quality of the foods that we have, and that for many it's the difficulty with getting certain foods. So it's a challenge, 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261. We can also, look increasingly at some of the other points that our listeners had shared earlier. Let's just pull up this last sentiment. This listener remembers, our comment relative to the whole use and expenditure of the government's budget, and asking, how many of us have looked at, the budgets over the time. Is it that we're being, as I read this one, unduly critical of this present administration? They haven't been in office yet a year, this person writes, and says, but yet our expectations are perhaps exceeding what any government can in fact deliver. Well, what is your view on that? Is it that we are asking too much of governments relative to what the resources, from their money to the available time to the actually abilities to physically do some of the things? Or is it that we have become so caught up with the political promises, that sort of marketing to differentiate one candidate from the next, one party from the next, in order to prove attractive? Or is it that we are, mindful that it is possible to achieve it, so our expectations are justifiably high? Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm not too bad. You were talking about agriculture. I think that's basically what some of your comments have been around.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And I think I heard somebody call about the chickens.
Yes.
Well, and my thoughts went back. My thoughts went around. How many young folk, and let's put it when I say young folk, let's say between 12 and 25.
I was going to say 12 and 30, yeah, but good age. Mm-hmm.
Could go in the ground. I wouldn't say backyard, but that's the way it used to be.
Right.
Go in the ground and look at a root of cassava and know how to figure out whether they can pull it or not.
And whether it's ready to be pulled and how to do it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or even plant a root of cassava.
Mm-hmm. And know when to harvest it. Yeah.
And you got to know how to plant it because it's very critical.
Mm-hmm.
You can't plant it with eyes down.
Yeah. We're losing our skill, with many things.
Well, but are we making any effort or the level of effort that's needed to convey all this basic information?
How would we do that, though? I mean, and I like your point. I'm glad that you called to take time to share that, because it ties into something I was reading earlier. But how do we address that? How do we teach that? What do we do?
Well, I think probably in the age bracket that I mentioned, I'm not sure that any. Well, let me just think. Probably let's say very few of those parents,
right,
would be able to disseminate that information.
So the parents themselves don't know?
Well, that's it.
Right.
But we keep talking about this, and there's nothing being done. We have an agricultural department.
You're right.
No. 35 years ago, and the program went on for probably 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
There was a program on radio that talked about these things, gave weekly tips, depending on the season and whatever was happening, on how to get into this cultivation type of process.
Right. You always make not just very salient points and timely, but to your point, the child doesn't know, the child's parent doesn't know. But is there even a bigger factor, just as you've alluded to? Not only are we not doing we're not doing any effort sufficiently to encourage the public education, but what is the perception of the community? Oh, you were growing that? Is it a fad that we're doing it? Or is it that we're looking at the people and going, well, what are you doing that for? You can just go buy it. We spend a lot of time educating children about the environmental impact, recycling, and plastics and single-use plastics and all these things, right? Even to condemning people for eating certain foods or not eating certain foods. But do we know the source of the food? Do we know, how to grow it, how to prepare it? How many of us are comfortable in the kitchen with peeling the cassava and preparing it?
Yeah, well, it's probably an art that is gone, but there are still people around that with a little effort, and it could be, but it has to have some driver behind it, some driving force behind it. And I think this is where, the process of governance comes in.
Well, I'll give you.
And there would be people in the community. I'm sure each community that would step up and say, well, I can show you how to do that, and
Are we sure? The reason why I'm asking, right, is that, and I value what you're saying. I like you you shared how others who have said it, but I give you an example, and this isn't something that has only happened recently. This is going back a few years. An individual shared where they had purchased property, they had built a home in one of the supposed nicer areas, as it were, and decided, not just at great expense, an effort, that a portion of the yard they would devote to growing certain vegetables. Now, there were fruit-bearing trees in the yard, but there were certain vegetables that they wanted to grow for different reasons, right? And decided that they were going to grow it in a certain way that would make it convenient using whatever technology. Now, it wasn't, to the best of my understanding, as I heard the story, it wasn't a commercial exercise. It wasn't going to go down to the side of the road or the farmer's market, not even sell to friends and family. If in excess, they would give it away, and had been doing. I understand that the adjoining neighborhoods and the wider community in that area not only condemned the person for it. Oh, why are you doing that? You're so cheap. Why are you doing that? You're not a what was the word that was used? Basically not of this class.
Modern thinker, modern consumer.
Right. Was a word I would use normally. That would describe the person as, right. And beyond that, oh well, we don't do that in this neighborhood. This is not that kind of neighborhood. Now, can you imagine that approach from your neighbors? I don't know what transpired, but if the owner felt sort of shunned, or felt like they were being ridiculed, or felt that they were being, marginalized and ostracized, you could understand why. We turn our noses up at people who till the soil. That's unfortunate.
Well, I mean, a lot of that backyard farming thing is also very therapeutical.
Very much so, physical and mentally, right?
Yes.
Yep. But it's the thing. I mean, you have $1 billion in your bank account, but you can't buy a bean, right? I don't know how good that money would taste, but I'm sure it'd not be too nutritious. It might provide some fiber.
I'm not even sure. Maybe some of the farmers that listen maybe can call in and say, but I'm not even sure. I mean, I haven't seen a pigeon pea tree in I don't know how long.
You must be reading my mind.
And that was a staple,
right?
Within the diet many years ago.
Yeah, that is the interesting thing, right? As we talked, as you shared, some of the wiser, elders among us, who remind us that, and I kind of alluded to it, that there were certain things that they grew and they ate, and that was what they had. They didn't have the great varieties of chocolate or cheeses that I was trying to, sort of draw the analogy, but they had all these things. Even some of the things that we don't think can grow here, but they actually,
have you ever seen a ear of Indian corn lately?
No, sir. And I only have stories of being reminded that we had it, but no longer do we see it anymore, right?
But I haven't seen anything. I guess.
What about a strawberry tree?
Let me think. Yeah, probably 75 years.
Yep. And
every kitchen that you went to many years ago, there were half a dozen ears of Indian corn, hanging up in the rafters.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that we have lost our way. I always enjoy your conversation. I always seem to be asking you, we have the news. Do you want to continue, or do we just take the break and take the other call after? What works for you, sir?
Well, I'd hang around for another 77 seconds or something like that.
There you go. Let's pause and take the break, and who knows, we might invite that call and have a three-way conversation. Technology can be utilized in an effective way. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's read the news every day. From East End to Georgetown. down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Displaced Tourism Employee Stipend Program, launched and managed by the Ministry and Department of Tourism, is now being managed by the Ministry of Border Control and Labour. January's payment will be dispersed to previously approved and enrolled recipients, with payout scheduled for Friday. In international news, Russia has not committed to de-escalate on the Ukrainian border after 2 rounds of diplomatic talks this week, Deputy U.S. Secretary of State said Wednesday, as the U.S. acknowledged it's still unclear whether Moscow intends to use the talks this week as a pretext to claim that diplomacy cannot work. Wendy Sherman told reporters that Wednesday's meeting between NATO and Russia ended with a sober challenge from the NATO allies to Russia to respond to the opportunities offered by the international community to de-escalate the situation on the border with Ukraine and choose the path of diplomacy. And UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson apologized Wednesday for attending a garden party during Britain's first coronavirus lockdown, but brushed aside demands that he resign for breaching the rules his own government had imposed on the nation. The apology, which stopped short of admitting wrongdoing, was Johnson's attempt to assuage a tide of anger from the public and politicians over accusations he and his staff repeatedly flouted pandemic restrictions by socializing when it was banned. Those are your latest headlines. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. 949-8037. Of course, there's a flow toll-free line. We have the excellent gentleman hanging on. We also have another caller. We'll talk to both maybe at the same time. What do you think, sir? Let's continue chat with you. Appreciate you holding on, Miss Luxley.
No.
All right. But, well, before I ask a question, you were going to say something, and we did have to pause for the news break. So I.
Oh well, if you got another caller, let's invite them in to see what.
Perfect.
If they're on the same subject.
Same subject. If not, then you can always be in. Well, to this other caller, welcome. Thank you for being a part of our discussion.
Well, Sterling.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I want to talk a little bit about the backyard farming.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you still come to Loxion?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, when I first moved in Newlands, I had some mango trees and orchards and avocado and coconuts in the backyard, but the yard was so rocky that I had to put the trees like they were kissing each other because couldn't find very many holes. And how some of them produced for some time, and then when Grace came to the other day, Grace did a ripping on my trees, so it just took down everything except the moringa tree and one young coconut tree. So now I gone in now and start doing a little farming on my next side of the house there with some bell peppers, some seasoned peppers, some hot peppers, seasoned peppers, bell peppers, some cassava, some garlic, some red onion, and some apple bananas and some plantain. And my favorite starch food is plantains and cassava.
So I need to come look for you.
Since I've been doing this cassava, I reap cassava for 4 times out of my yard. And let me tell you something, that is some good cassava. Beautiful, white, and soft.
Wow. Well, can you plant some Cayman Kalu as well?
No, I haven't got into that yet because...
but I mean the Cayman Kalu, you know.
I know.
Not that reddish one.
Yet.
Yeah.
I haven't got to that one yet. And I even got that tree that they call... it's good for the virus, the vervine. I just got a tree that's looking good. I got the Spanish. I got a Cuban basil tree. Oh, she's beautiful. And I got the regular Cayman basil tree. You know, so I'm trying a thing or two in my yard. So nothing to sell. Just if they do come to something, they'll be given away. But believe me, it's a joy to get out there and get your hands in that dirt and put something to grow to eat. I do a lot of other plants, but it's flowers and so forth. But just doing the food section, man, if it doesn't even come to anything, Sterling, it's a beauty right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beauty. It's a beauty. Yeah.
But this is what's important, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So that cassava stick, you got to know how to put that down. And mine give me good cassava, apple, banana. I'm waiting patiently, and my plantains.
Mm.
I think probably within various districts, there are certain parcels of property that could be cultivated to a high level with whatever we can grow around here. I'm not sure how much citrus is on the island now, but years ago, just about every household had an orange tree in their yard, and some of them had the big shaddocks. We call them shaddocks. I guess the pink grapefruit or whatever it was called, and tangerines, and
I think we really get back into some of the backyard farming. A lot of people have pretty good sized property. My yard is very rocky, so what I am doing is using huge pots. I have to buy these pots from every Bloomington or Vigoro, whoever it is that has them. And that's what I'm doing my planting in now, right now, because my backyard is, like I say, the stumps are still there from the trees that was cut down since Grace. And I just gone pot now. So I said, if the bad weather come, the pot will just have good bad weather. But there'll be no tree knocking down throughout the ground, you know what I mean? Which I hope it doesn't happen. But I will keep you. Pardon?
Yeah, I think there needs to be a concerted educational process of what you could grow in your backyard, and things that would grow here better than just picking any old thing. I think that would be a great improvement. I mean, I don't know about too much about the other districts, but I know there are sections in West Bay that is what we call highland. But years ago, they used to grow humongous yams in that vicinity.
I have a girlfriend in Northwood. She grows the prettiest tomatoes and bell peppers and seasoned peppers and hot peppers and avocados right there in Northwood. You just got to put your mind to it and say, you know what, I'm going to put my mind on this and I'm going to go in with all my heart, and if something has to come, and I say if it doesn't come to anything to eat, then it was a beauty trying to get there to something to eat. You know what I mean?
It takes a little bit of elbow grease and getting your hands dirty and doing a lot of things.
Yep, and I appreciate what you're doing, right?
It is stress-free too. It's good for mental health people, including myself.
Yeah, like I said, it's therapeutic. I can remember
very much.
I can remember my mother sending me up in an area in West Bay called the Pillars, which these yams grew, humongous sizes. Send me up there to see if that yam wine got a good yam on it. Try to dig it up and bring it home.
Yeah.
But
those days was real good yam cakes too.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I think it's a time.
I think they made starch out of yams too, I believe. I think, well, yam and the cassava meal and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, good conversation.
I know when there was kids coming up, we used to get the white yam and the red yam, which was called like the Sid Minton yam, right? Was the red yam called Sid Minton yam?
Yeah. And then there's another root crop called our root, which used to grow almost wild around here.
Yes, I remember that as a young kid. And we had this lady on Walker's Road who always wanted to buy yam, so sometime a bunch of kids. And Mr. Vincent Pantry was part of that because he used to do a lot of farming. And he used to go and dig up his yam in his lines and stuff, and go and sell it in the neighborhood, from all the way up there on Church Street. And then we saw the lady yam, the red yam, and she got high upset because she wanted a white yam. She then told me to themselves. And we came and sold her red yam. So we were in trouble. Yep.
But
anyhow.
Yeah, yes, Mom. You're right. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to leave you guys for this album. 2 more minutes to get the bus. So we'll talk some more. You enjoy talking to Mr. Loxley. Bye.
Okay. Thank you much. Thank you. And Mr. Loxley, I certainly invite you to share as you wish, but I know your schedule is such that, But what other thoughts you want to share with us?
Well, I guess there's a lot of other thoughts, but...
Yeah. Well, I'll reach out to you, and I'll share this. Excuse me. I'll share this point that one of our listeners weighed in, and I think couched it in the fact that government has to be sensible about its expenditure and try to probably more than anything, trying to be good stewards of the resources we have, trying to ensure that auditors, when they come around, recognize that we're following the protocols, perhaps trying to abide by the new legislation relative to good governance and the like. But I say that to couch it in that language, so that sometimes are we sensitive to local nuances? Do we appreciate some of the things? And this listener has weighed in that there are many of us, in particular women, who were doing, for want of a better way to phrase it, backyard farming. That was additional income. That was, a way to make sure the family was fed. And, they were not commercial farmers like you would see with the established commercial farms, but this was not just livelihood, this was sustenance, for the table. This was part of the subsistence living, carrying on a tradition as well. And they have lost, allegedly, their stipends. They're not able to access those things. So is this a way that we openly, without actually recognizing the attempt to do right, we're actually discouraging something without even intending to? We don't want any abuses.
Many things can be done that don't require, putting your dollar down. There's a lot of other avenues, approach avenues that could be utilized.
But I can't read this message, for two reasons. One, that the person said, don't share it in this extent, but I can share one little bit from it. This person, has weighed in on two things. If I can share in the comment that I made earlier about the story that was given to me about the person who was living in a particular area, and only on account of the neighbors having a perspective that this wasn't the kind of thing we do in that area, right? I'm not even going to go into that popular will if anybody wants to, but this person raised and said, they now have the same thing that they're experiencing now. The details that are shared are probably too specific that might be identified as to what they want, but the gist of what they said I can share is that, why are we looking down on this? If you have, vegetables in your backyard and you have, just me, putting this in context, put a shelter of some sort over it if it's tasteful to help you with it. If you elevated the plant beds so that it's a little bit more convenient and what have you. Doesn't matter if you were farming on acres somewhere, about this fenced off, or if you just carved out a little, 5x4 little part in your backyard. I'm wondering what we're doing about some of the things that we're doing. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
Well, I think there needs to be a basic educational process that's continuing, that's repetition's continuing, and we could probably get back to some semblance of being more self-sufficient in food than we are.
Yep, but that's the thing. Well, I appreciate you not only paying attention to some of the comments, but please taking time for allowing us to understand that this is not just something that we should take lightly, So, hey, thanks very much for that, sir.
All right.
All right.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Always a pleasure. And we'll pause and take a break, but like the caller and the lady to join in the others, these are meaningful discussions and they have a significant import. What are we doing and how are we? Well, let's talk about it when we come back. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. The ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom. The land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Families are like branches on a tree. We grow in different directions, yet our roots remain deeply intertwined as one. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, has remained stable, strong, and deeply rooted in the community. The past 2 years have been very difficult, but they have taught all of us the value of family and embracing our loved ones. This 2022, Savannah Pharmacy encourages everyone to get in touch with your roots, embrace your heritage, show some extra love to your neighbor, and make the year a memorable one. Time is precious. Cherish it and those you love. Savannah Pharmacy, always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336 or WhatsApp your Savannah Pharmacy prescription to 929-5045.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. It is open line. We've got a few minutes left for the program, and we can talk about anything and everything. And I'm glad that this discussion relative to the farming, food security, that sort of thing is, well, unless you disagree, and certainly you can weigh in and maybe help us to understand it better. That's important. It's not just food security, it's national security. It's not just having variety. Sometimes it's actually the difference between having something to eat and starving to death. That is how it probably was for our parents and grandparents, and they didn't complain. Now, you can't miss what you never had if you're using to getting organic this and properly label and package that. Well, to see something coming out of your backyard or the piece of land next door, or maybe you live in one area and it's brought to you from another area, but it's still a little bit of soil on it. The roots are there. It's not packaged and looking a certain way. You might turn your nose up at it. Not saying that to offend you. If you are, it's my sincerest apology. And I can say that there are many of us who have little understanding, not just in Cayman, not just in the Caribbean, surprisingly, but the industrial world. That food we're eating, we don't know what it is. We don't know how it's, sourced. We have no clue about how it's, sort of farmed. But what we are concerned about is, the carbon footprint. Are we sustainably harvesting? Well, good things to consider. But at the end of the day, if we were to go into our backyard, as a lady who shared that, she'll get her peppers and she can get her ground provisions. Well, it would be nice if we can. I say this also to ask, in introducing other varieties, are we cognizant of what is growing here? The urban planners and the horticulturists, but in particular the landscape architects amongst us, will talk about xeriscaping and being sensitive to the natural environment and those plants that are indigenous, as it were. so that when we look at the ornamental landscaping even, we're not using a lot of water to maintain the plants. A nice landscape golf course in a desert, we might think looks lush, but do we consider what it is to maintain that? Not just to build and develop, but to maintain it. How much water is being diverted to from people's, potable drinking needs to irrigation? And are there other technological uses that we could deploy to ensure that we're not using as much water, as it were? So in employing geoscaping techniques to our ornamental gardens, well, the gentleman asked about the corn and the pigeon peas. For those of us who may have parents or grandparents, beyond 60, 70, 80, and 90, they may tell us, as the caller said, 70 years probably or so before, since he's last seen some of those things. How much are we deliberately destroying? Very inadvertently, bulldozing, as it were, and not paying attention. There was a concern recent when we were knocking down the coconut trees and the local palms and importing all sorts of things. Well, why are we doing that? And in so doing, the concern initially was, well, are we bringing in poisonous snakes and other insects and pests and the like? But what about displacing what was there? I referenced the Cayman Callaloo. Now, I'll stand corrected by those who know better, but please come convincingly and with sufficient, information. The callaloo that I know and like and prefer and grew up with was a greener, thinner, sweeter stalk. Not what I see in other instances. Not that it's not good, but is it better? Well, matter of preference. But why can't the two coexist? And why do we displace one in order to have the other? It's like some of us, we can only have one friend. If that friend has another friend, we have an issue. And if we have one friend, we give up that friend to take on another. Well, is it just how we are, or is it just how it is? I think differently, but we'll see. I want us to move forward this year, questioning the status quo, but not to be disruptive and disrespectful. Interesting how that word now was a word that was used once for some of us and was a bad thing. Oh, you're being disruptive. It meant something horrible. Nowadays, that's a disruptive thinker, that's a disruptive business. Well, maybe there's a better word. But the scripture talks about, good being called bad and bad being good. Well, maybe it is a sign of the times. But let's do all we can, because even though we won't work our way into heaven, faith without works is dead, if we think about it. Doesn't mean we don't sin, and certainly even endeavor to be saints. I think we have to acknowledge that we are flesh, blood, and bone. Now, if we work hand in hand, if we endeavor to see the good or the best as we can, and to do our very best, not point fingers and ask others to be better when we ourselves not willing to improve. I would joke or laugh many times at a pastor who would joke and say, he said it was the wife laying down, praying for her husband, and I want to make him better. Well, you've heard that joke, I'm sure, many times, even if we didn't go to church that often, I'm sure it was made, and one of those times that we went. Well, let's follow what we've heard many people say. Be the change that we're going to be. Work on a person who reflects in the mirror. Improve that person. And if all of us do our best, then, well, we don't have to worry about the other person. We worry about ourselves. Sort of like something I was told long ago and was reminded of recent. Can you imagine within a relationship, whether it's, spouses or whether it's some other relationship, that each person tries to do the very best for the other? If there's a spirit of competition, it isn't who's going to win the next round of rummy or at the dominoes or the marbles or what have you, but who's going to do the best in trying to, outlove and outgive and outcare and do the other person in terms of goodness, so that when the person wakes up, every day is like a birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, because it is, a gift. It's get a chance to live in the here and the now, and so you give lovingly and kindly to that other person. It may be your sibling. It may be your child. It may be your parent. Be honest with you, I confess I don't know that I do that necessarily. But I can also say that those of us who do that probably find that it's not rewarded, respected, nor appreciated. And so at some point we stop doing it. Or for others, we say, you know what, we will press on because that's who we are. Well, again, we do because we can and because we want. And we do the very best. If you think it's soft and soppy, well, let me know. If you think it's a little too sensitive, well, let me know as well. The challenge simply is, how do we be better? Not better than the next, but better than what we were once. And so that tomorrow we strive to be better than today. I want to invite you to be a part of our continued discussion here on Talk Today. If I am blessed with the continued health and strength, presence of mind, the wisdom, the counsel to persevere and press on, maybe it'll be even better. If my paths take me to other shores and lands and to other avenues and explorations, well, so be it. But if we work together and join hands and move forward, well, wouldn't the celebration be that much more jubilant? I invite you to continue to pray one for another, as Mr. Abel used to remind us. Enjoy the fact that he would do so publicly, freely understanding his calling, but recognizing the importance of it. If you pray publicly or you pray, within your own space, so be it. And if you don't pray, well, that's your thing as well. We all do as we do. Don't condemn the others for doing it differently. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village.